Currently in his fourth AHL season, he is fifth all-time for points in Abbotsford Canucks history, third in goals, third in penalty minutes, and third in games played. He has scored the opening goal in both wins at the Abbey Centre in these playoffs. A fan favorite here in the Valley, Tristan Nielson joins us here on the Canucks Insider Podcast. Let's start there. Those two games at the Abbey Centre in the opening round, you score the opening goal, and just chatting with the players post-game, they were so pumped that you were the guy to do it because you're such an energy guy. You like to bring that on every shift. What did it feel like kind of just opening the scoring in those first two home games here in the opening round?
It was a bit of a relief, obviously, getting off to such a hot start and just kind of had a lot of pressure I felt like put on myself this past season. So to be able to bring that energy and get a couple early, especially in the games, especially the two that we won, just meant a lot for me as an individual. But I also felt like it sparked the team, and it kind of, once you get one, it's always, you feel like two's coming. So I think we were really excited after those.
What's it been like for you just kind of taking to this crowd out here in the Valley? Like, obviously, you finished your junior career with the Giants, so some people kind of knew your name out this way. Then you come here and bring a lot of energy on every shift for you. What's it been like just kind of growing a relationship with the fans, especially like from a player's perspective, right? Like you go out there, you play hockey, fans cheer you on. Like, what's that relationship been like with just like in-game, I guess, with the fans?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, when you see fans from the Giants days, even some of the Hitman fans make their way out here. I think it was the first game of postseason. There was a guy wearing a Hitman jersey with Nielsen and everything, and it was cool because I remembered them. And it goes a long way when you're kind of a fan throughout, 8, 9, 10 years. So you kind of get to remember the faces and come in front of this building and being part of the Lower Mainland. The crowd's always electric.
Yeah, you're one of those guys that came out of junior and weren't drafted in the NHL, but you signed with the Canucks, and then you end up coming here in the opening year for the Abbotsford Canucks. To go back to those days, like, how much do you remember about just watching like an AHL franchise kind of be launched? And like, I'm sure there were some struggles along the way, but to like get to this point 4 years later and see what it's like out here in the Abbey Centre, it must have been pretty cool for you to kind of just like see everything develop in the first couple of years.
I'm going to be honest, the organization did a really good job. From the first year to now, there hasn't really even been much of a difference. I think right from the get-go, it was kind of just like a really good start. I think we were treated really well, and we still are. And I think that's been a big thing here, and things from around the league and everything. I feel like we're very well treated here.
What do you like most about just like living in the area? Like, Abbotsford, obviously, when you played for the Giants, you probably got to learn like some of the street names and what the highway was like. But now that you're out here in Abbotsford, what's it been like to kind of make this your home?
It's been special. I've been in Langley now for 2 years. I stay there year round, so I'm very familiar with the Lower Mainland, everywhere from Kitsilano to Abbotsford. But here there's always fun spots to do in kind of each little individual city, I guess, and you kind of build connections and friends with people throughout. But here in Abbotsford, it's just great. There's so much outdoor stuff to do, and just get away from the rink. It's amazing here.
And like I kind of brought up, you're a high energy player. I want to kind of hear where that comes from, because I've talked to you a lot, and I remember doing the story for the AHL about your dog as well. And like the way that you talk to somebody away from the rink, the way you play the game feels a lot different. Like you feel like you really like to get under people's skin when you're playing in a game and just like playing that aggressive style. How do you like flip the switch? Because I talked to you like away from the rink, and you seem like such a calm, easygoing guy. And then I see you play, and I'm like, these are two different people. How do you like flip that switch when you're playing?
I feel like I don't flip the switch as much as you think. Whether it's sewer ball or playing cards or anything, I don't like losing, and I like getting under people's skin, playing little mind games and everything like that. But I think it all kind of started from a young age. I remember when there was no hitting, my dad would tell me to get out there and run someone and get engaged. So I think it's always been fun, and I just get a lot of enjoyment from pissing people off, I guess.
What does that kind of do for a group like yourself and some other players involved? I remember seeing the game that Chase had in Game 3 of that opening round and how much energy he brought, and just like having such a game like that. What is it like on the bench when you see another line out there just having a shift like that? Like, how easy is it to follow that up with the momentum and just kind of build that way? Not necessarily with like scoring chances and goals and everything, but I feel like the energy shifts can really help build momentum for a group.
Oh, well, yeah. Whether it's a fluky goal, a good goal, or a big hit, no matter what it is, it always changes momentum. And when you kind of can get it and roll with it, it makes a huge difference. And I think that's something special about our team, whether it's our first line or our fourth line. We got the depth, so it could be any line, any given night.
What's that like? Because like we've talked about that a little bit in some interviews, kind of doing this podcast as you guys are in the playoffs here. It really feels like all four lines. And I actually remember doing an interview with you a couple of years ago, and you mentioned like sometimes the fourth line will match up against the first line. So it seems like that's been something in Abbotsford for a while now, where like all four lines are kind of trusted to do really anything. Like whatever the task is, any line seems to be able to accomplish it. What's it like being on a team like that where it's kind of just depending on the night which forward line's going to end up having the most minutes?
I think when you have depth and you have guys up and down the lineup that can make a difference, I would say it helps create a culture that can win, because guys are willing to step up at any moment. And obviously, at the end of the day, if you're a fourth liner, you're always still pushing to be a first liner. And if you're a first liner in this league, you're still pushing to make the next level, and vice versa. So there's always kind of a bottom up push. And I think that's what creates kind of inner competition, which allows for a team to be good.
It's interesting to watch this group, especially like the core guys. We talked about the 7 guys who came in here that opening year, and you were one of them, and now 4 years away from that. I'm curious how different this playoffs feels for you guys on like really being able to go on a deep run and like have this be one of the years where you guys can look back and remember and just think about that Calder Cup playoffs. Like you guys have had a little bit of experience the past couple of years. Does this year feel a little bit different, especially for the guys who have been here for like 4 years?
Yeah, I think everyone knows that we have the pieces to make a good run here, but I think the biggest thing for us is just not getting too far ahead of ourselves and just focusing on the next game at hand and playing the right way, because I truly think when we play the right way, we're positive, we have energy, we're under people's skin, whatever it might be. I think we are a really good team.
Do you think that's something of just like maturing? Like it's the same group a lot of the times the last couple of years. Do you think that the game-by-game thing is something you guys have always had, or is that just kind of something that you learned a little bit?
I feel like it's kind of been, through most coaches, but Manny's really pushed us to focus on the process. So, I can't remember how many games in the 13-game win streak there, we were down a couple goals and we just kind of stuck to it. And then the third period we come back. Even you look at last game, we might not have got the win, but it was a huge kind of momentum shift for us and how when we play our game, we can be a top team.
Yeah, when you guys are going on these like 13-game win streaks, I think there was an 8-game win streak at some point. Like what is it about this group what do you guys do so well when you guys are running off these wins like that? Like, is there a certain sort of feeling, and how do you kind of like bottle that and bring that into the playoffs, right? Because you guys finished the season so good, and it almost feels like you have to like not even turn the page, like move on to the next chapter when you go into the playoffs. But how have you guys had to kind of remember what you did in the regular season on those streaks and bring that into what you're doing in the playoffs?
Once again, I think we just focus on the next game, but I think a big thing is I'm a believer that winning's a mindset, and I think when we're playing our best, everyone knows that we're going to get the job done, and it showed, and it's going to show again.
With Manny Malhotra, you brought him up a little bit there. Him coming in, and this is his first time being a head coach, but what have you kind of thought about just the job he's done in a spot where like he hasn't done this before? He hasn't been a head coach, so I think he's probably working through a lot of things, and you guys are kind of there along the way with them. But what has he done that's just really helped the group the most and really helped the players the most?
I think one thing that is kind of different that I've seen from past coaches is he started the year, I remember he said he'll always have open communication, and whenever you have a question, you just go in, and his door is always open. So whether you feel like you're doing something right, feel like you're doing something wrong, he's always there to talk to you, and he's always there to push you, and he expects the best from you. And he makes sure he's pushing you to your limits, and you might not like it every time, but it definitely helps you become a better player and also helps the team succeed.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of practices over my time just covering the sport, and like your guys' energy at practice, like not only the players playing, but like the coaches. What is it like when the coaches are like out there doing conditioning and just having such high energy throughout the whole practice? Like it seems like they're almost as involved as the drills as like the players are.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to lose to them, that's for sure. Man, he's probably still in as good a shape as he was when he retired there. But man, having the coaches get involved and be a part of it also shows that they're kind of engaged and involved as well. You see them bag skating with us. It's not easy, but if they're doing it, it makes you realize like, hey, you got to step up, you got to do it too. And it kind of shows that they're a part of this journey with us.
Yeah, I've heard some stories, and we've heard them on this podcast about Manny like face-offs in his office and the type of thing. So like as a guy who plays a little bit of center here and there too, because you can play all 3 forward positions, what's it like learning face-offs from him? Because I just feel like he's a guy who like was dominant in the NHL when he was doing it.
Yeah, I remember growing up watching him. He was always a dominant center, but unlucky, I guess, or lucky. I haven't really played much center this year, so I haven't learned as much as I wish I probably could, but never know. Maybe next year there's a chance, obviously. And then, you watch guys, it's crazy, like in a game, he'll notice something happen and then the whistle gets blown down. He'll look at the center and tell him what to do, and then the center will suck it back. And it's just like, how did you know from 80 feet away? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. I think that's an interesting thing because I hear, and a lot of fans kind of wonder, like, why can't a guy play center and play wing? The big changes, and a lot of people say like it's harder to learn how to play center. So when you went from playing center to playing the wing, what were some of the harder things that you maybe had to pick up on and kind of learn a little bit, or did you kind of just always play all the forward positions?
I kind of played all the way up. I kind of played everywhere. I was actually always told that I was going to be too small to be a center in the NHL, so they kind of moved me to a wing when I was young. But I think the biggest difference was just the board battles and engaging, especially when the D are aggressive. It's really hard to get the puck out sometimes, but you got to use your body to protect it and make plays through the middle and stuff. So I'd say that was probably the biggest difference compared to center, where you're just kind of getting in there, bumping a guy and trying to get the puck up the wall kind of thing.
Right. With the way you guys just wrapped up this opening part of the series, because you guys started 2 games at Coachella, you guys split with overtime loss in the second game. How do you guys look back at that, and how do you kind of, I feel like, carry some momentum? Because like you brought up, that second game, you guys are trailing 3-0. You make the comeback there, get it to overtime. Just how much momentum are you guys taking away from those first 2 games? And honestly, like, I think a lot of teams would be happy with the split on the road. You kind of come home with that, and now you have 3 here at the Abbotsford Center. So how do you guys carry momentum from what you did in those first 2?
I don't think we were ever going there for a split. Obviously, we wanted to get both. But I think the biggest thing for us is not doing it to ourselves. There's been times in the games throughout the past few months where we kind of hurt ourselves and put ourselves in danger by whether it's not protecting our teammates or not doing the right thing. So I think the biggest thing for us, just again moving to this next game, is making sure that every individual is doing the right thing for the team and that we're doing it together.
And I've heard Ryan Johnson talk about how much development can happen in these moments and how important it is for a young guy like yourself to just like play in these playoff moments and experience this. I guess just like from a player's perspective, how important are these playoff games in terms of you just like learning how to play in big games and being at the AHL level in the playoffs? Like we saw you do this with the Giants when you guys went on your deep run. But just to do this here in the AHL, like how much are you really just learning about just the game, like playing in these type of games?
I mean, a lot. I mean, you never know what to expect each game. I mean, the first game against Coachella, I would say there wasn't as much meat in their lineup, and it wasn't as physical of a game. And then next thing you know, they bring 3 big bodies in, and it's changed the game completely. And whether you're going from a game like Tucson against Coachella, I mean, Tucson's a lot heavier, more physical, probably a more off the rush team, where the Coachella is very defensively sound and they're good off the rush, but they also will get the puck in forecheck as well, but might not have as much meat. So you kind of, I guess, learn as it goes, because it just varies each and every night. And I mean, every playoff game's a grind, so it's always fun to be a part of those.
What is it like to even have discussions about it? I don't know if you don't need to sit down with the guy and ask him, but like Sammy Blais like goes and wins a Stanley Cup, or like Wooley's been around for like, he's been through some deep runs. How much are those guys impactful in the room right now when you guys are kind of having a lot of younger players here in this room who haven't gone past a second round of the AHL playoffs?
I'd say they're kind of crucial for everyone's development. Even myself, obviously being here for 4 years, you still learn off them. But I mean, obviously having Wool Annan be out there, it hurts. It hurts the team from obviously a playing perspective, but also in the room. But I mean, you get him, you got Sammy. I mean, when Sammy has Stanley Cup rings, so he knows what it takes, and I think he's showing it every night what it takes, and he's being selfless out there, but he's also just bringing the energy, like shift after shift. I feel like he's always doing something. So just watching them and learning from them in the room is a big part of everyone's development.
What's it like for you now to be not necessarily the other side of things, because you're still so young, but like having the 20-year-olds come in now? Like how different is it now 4 years later than what you were just in that position? Like for you to take on anything and help out guys like, Kirill coming in, or Sawyer's now around the group, and these young players, like when they're 20 years old, like do you feel more mature? Like you got a daughter now. I feel like maybe you're a little bit more of a father figure to these kids when they come in.
Yeah, I definitely feel more mature, I guess, at times, but I'm still a young kid at heart, and I would say I'm probably not the most mature 25-year-old, but it's cool. I mean, it feels like just 4 years ago it feels like yesterday that I was 20, really. But it's crazy to think that 4 years has gone by, and for them, I just hope that they kind of soak up every moment and enjoy it, because it's been the best part of my career.
Right. I feel like the better father figure is probably Ryan Johnson I mentioned here. And just, I wanted to get your thoughts on how he's kind of helped you just become a pro and kind of understand the everyday grind that is being a pro hockey player? Like, how much does RJ play into that with really everybody, it feels like, here in the organization?
I think the whole organization as a whole is expects a lot from you, whether it's in the summer or in the season. I think they do a good job communicating. RJ's obviously around a lot, which I think is amazing. I don't think everyone's as fortunate as we are to have a GM that's always around. So, but he's always pulling guys aside, whether it's last game or it's beginning of the season. He's always kind of talking to you about his expectations, and he's always been honest with me, and I have a lot of trust in him to always be honest with me. So he's been really, really good for me.
That's awesome. And the way that you've kind of evolved now, like you have a daughter now, what's it been like just like, because I remember talking to RJ about this, and he's like, it's so cool for him to watch the 20-year-olds grow and have a family and get married and have a kid and like all these things. Just kind of taking on that, going with the day-to-day grind now with a daughter. How different is your life, I guess, now that you have her in your life?
Oh, I don't think it's much different. I mean, me and my fiance, we still get around. We do everything we want to do. It's just more fun now because you have like a little partner with you that's just buzzing around always. And I mean, she's walking and running and everything like that. So she's just a little ball of energy. I mean, you can't go home and have a bad day now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. 10 years ago, you gave an interview when you were with the Edge prep school, and you said your goal in hockey was to make your family proud. So I wanted to ask like what your family has been involved in your hockey journey, and like, I'm not going to ask you if you made them proud. That's too weird of a question, but like how much were they involved and how much are they currently involved in just like getting to this level for yourself and playing hockey?
Oh, I think they're a huge support system for me. I mean, I talk to them every morning. Obviously, they don't live here, so call them every day on the way to the rink, every day on the way home. But I mean, they've been there through everything. I remember until I made the dub, my dad didn't miss a hockey game. My mom was always there supporting me. I moved away at a really young age from my mom and sister, and that was pretty hard. But obviously, they've always watched every game, I think, and they're kind of always feel like they've just been right behind me, just pushing me a little bit more. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's been very special.
What are they like just as when they're at a game? Like, are they going nuts on every goal? Like, I've heard about Max's dad a little bit. Like, is your dad on that same level?
I wouldn't say he's on that same level. That guy's awesome, but my dad's definitely up there. My dad gets really involved, and he's very interested in the game. He likes to have fun, and I think my mom and my sister are a little more anxious when it comes to the games, but they're always there watching, cheering me on, sending me texts, FaceTime me, whatever it is.
Yeah. So just with the amount of games you've now played in the AHL, I'm curious, like, if you can look back at all and see what parts of your game have really like improved the most, right? Because I feel like from watching you play in the Giants, you still play like a pretty similar game to what you were playing in the WHL. So I'm like, from your perspective, looking at your own game, how much do you think you've improved on certain areas? And is there specific areas that you feel confident that you've really grown in these past 4 years?
I definitely think just like my maturity as a player, whether it's in the D zone or a board battle, I think kind of the little details within I've really grown in. I think my biggest thing that I still have to work on, but I think that has grown has been my D zone. I think Manny's done a really good job helping me this season with it. But overall, I just think my pace of play and realizing that it's not has to be done. I felt like in juniors, you can kind of do it all by yourself sometimes, but out here you can't. And just trusting your teammates and playing a full 200-foot game has been big for me, and still got to improve on it. But I think I've done a way better job now than I ever have.
How do you improve on that? Like, is it strictly like video work? Is it just like experiencing things? Like, how do you kind of think that specifically? Like, I always hear about like, kind of just like learning the D zone. And I feel like a lot of that's like positioning and understanding. Like, how would you kind of describe how you improve on kind of the mental side of the game? Like, not so much the physical, but just being in the right place at the right time and knowing when to go and when to stay. Like, how do you develop that? Because I think that's something that I don't really hear players talk about a lot.
I think a lot of it comes down to what you're doing in practice and the reps you're doing in practice. So whether it's a D zone 5-on-5 drill or whatever it is, but making sure your stop and starts are in the right position and make sure you're closing and being quick to the loose pucks, rebounds, whatever it is. But a lot of it also does come from video, studying where you are and everything like that. So, but also questions. I mean, you ask Manny a question, he's going to give you an answer, and it helps.
I remember you telling me a story a couple years ago about you and Chase doing a 2-on-2 battle against the Sedins, and you said that you guys couldn't touch the puck.
Crazy.
So I think people need to understand, like, are they still at that level? Like, if you guys are in a 2-on-2 battle now, you and Chase against Daniel and Henrik, how do you feel about your odds now, like a couple years later?
I mean, it depends on if there's hitting, I think. I got to think Waddy's going to get in there and bury one of them, but you never know. I mean, they're slippery. They still got it. I feel like it's crazy watching. They might be coaches, but they all still got it. I mean, whether it's Manny, the Sedins, Yogi, like any of them, they know what they're doing, and when they do it, they do it, and they still outplay you. It's crazy.
Right. You mentioned that, like, you spend your off seasons here as well. What's it been like for you to kind of just be able to stay around here and be able to work with, I don't know how much you're spending time with them, but just kind of being like a local guy in the off season and working out?
I don't spend much time with the Sedins and those guys, but I mean, I skate with Yogi a ton. I'm really close with his kids, so I've been fortunate to obviously work out at Delta and skate with them for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years now. So it's just awesome for me because obviously he knows what the Canucks want from me and everything like that. But the biggest thing is his mindset and his skill development is next level. And I don't feel like I've ever been on the ice with anyone as skilled as him. So it's very fun to work with him.
I remember him saying, I think he was doing like 2,000 practices a year when he was like in his heyday of like coaching everything.
It wouldn't surprise me. He had something happen to his ankle, and it was like to the point where he needed 6 weeks off, and he was in a boot, walking on the ice, showing us what to do. It was crazy. He's an animal. He loves the game, and obviously it shows. He's such a smart coach. He's so skilled. It's crazy.
With you guys now getting back here, these potentially 3 games, we'll see how this series goes. What do you want from the fans? What do you want from the Abbotsford crowd here when they're out here? Because I love watching guys when they celebrate a goal because I feel like you get their like raw emotions. And you're one of the guys that like you're directly staring at the crowd. Like it seems like you feed off of the crowd when you celebrate a goal. What do you want from this fan base when they get here on Wednesday night?
Oh, I have no doubt that they're gonna show up. Obviously, you want the building as full as it can be, but just bring that same energy. I mean, year in, year out, I guess every year I've been here, the energy's been amazing, whether it's a Tuesday night or Saturday night. So no matter how many people are here, I just hope that the energy's at an all-time high. Obviously, we need it. And I mean, it's just the best of 3 now. So.
Yeah. And it feels like you guys probably go into this pretty confident. The way you guys have played on home ice kind of the last 4 years, honestly. Like this year's been great, but just looking back the past 4 years, this seems to be a place where you guys play your most confident hockey.
Yeah, we definitely play confident here. We've kind of always had the idea of making this a tough place to play, and I feel like our culture has done that over 4 years, and I think right now it's at an all-time high, so hopefully we can really bring it to them.
Awesome. Well, Tristan, we're excited to see what happens here with Wednesday and these final 3 games at the Abbotsford Center. A lot of green, I think we'll be seeing over the next few days, and hopefully a lot of goals as well. So thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and best of luck with the rest of the series.
Thank you very much.
Drafted in the 5th round of the 2022 NHL entry draft, he played 3 seasons of NCAA hockey with the University of Nebraska, Omaha. He made his NHL debut on October 9th and was traded to the Vancouver Canucks on January 31st, 2025. The 22-year-old right shot defenseman turns 23 later this month. Victor Mancini is our guest today on the Canucks Insider podcast. Victor, let's just get started with the opening round that you guys had here at the Abbotsford Center. You got to experience all 3 games here and just see what the AHL playoffs is going to kind of be like. Then you obviously win that series. You go down and get a couple against Coachella Valley. You're back here for 3. It's almost like you're resetting what you guys just did in the opening round. How excited are you for just getting another opportunity to have a best-of-3 series here at the Abbotsford Center?
It's very exciting. I think, looking back with this team, like just the position that we wanted to be in, we're really happy right now to get those games at home. It's going to be an exciting crowd, and I think we're going to feed off that, so it's going to be fun.
It's a lot of young guys getting this opportunity, like, yourself at 22 years old. There's some 20-year-olds here. Even watching some of the guys who came from junior are now joining the team. What is it like for a young player to step into that environment? Because the AHL playoffs really mean something to a lot of guys, especially at this age, where you can learn so much kind of over this playoff run here. For yourself, what are you kind of trying to necessarily kind of just take away here from playing AHL playoff games, especially at this barn?
Like you said, it's a learning experience. You come in and just playoff hockey. It's kind of a different monster, right? But it's really exciting. It's something you want to be a part of. It's something you work your whole season for. So to go in and learn and play for your teammates, I think is really special.
What's this year been like for you? I'm sure this is like, you've experienced hockey all over the world. You've done a lot of different things in your life, but like you come out of camp, you make the Rangers, you're playing in the NHL, you're traded, now you're here. Like Has this just been like one of the biggest whirlwind years for you playing hockey? Because you've kind of had a couple of these whirlwind seasons, it feels like, in the game of hockey.
Been an absolute whirlwind for sure. There's been a lot of chaotic moments, but I've found a lot of fun kind of in that chaos and a lot of peace sometimes. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but I've just been enjoying the journey. Yeah. I think it's the people that I've met in this first year and being a part of basically 4 teams within the NHL and the American League. I think it's been really special. Kind of like a loss for words. If you go back and tell me in October or like during training camp, really, that this is where I was going to be, I never would have believed you. But I think coming into that first season, I didn't want to put myself in a box and not put any limits on myself. So I'm happy where I am today.
And I have to imagine it's a lot of different emotions because, like, when you get drafted by a team, then you get traded by them, you kind of understand that, like, the Vancouver Canucks were a team that wanted you. And now you're here with this group. What did that mean to you now, kind of making that evolution of, like, when you get drafted, they want you, and now this team traded for you, they want you. What's it like just being a Vancouver Canuck and kind of knowing this is the organization for you for the next few years at least?
I've said it before, like, felt like I was really wanted in this trade. And I think when the trade was happening, there was a lot of unknowns. I didn't know too much about the Vancouver Canucks, but as I started to talk to Alvin and other people within the organization and meet teammates, it becomes a really exciting feeling, right? And you get to know more about the city and how passionate the fans are. And I'm really blessed to be a part of it.
That's awesome. One thing you did know about the Canucks before is Ryan Kesler, because I remember you mentioning he was your favorite player kind of growing up, and the number 17 is something your dad wore as well, I think. And just watching that, what do you remember from those days of watching Ryan Kesler? Why'd you like him so much as a player? Because you're a defenseman now, but I think you were a forward back then when you were watching him growing up?
Yeah, I was a forward back then, watching him grow up. He wore 17, my dad wore 17, so kind of became a number that was special to me. And I think just how hard he worked on the ice and how hard he played. He never really took a shift off. Just you could kind of see his mindset every time he stepped out on the ice, and he wanted to be just the best player on the ice, right? He wanted to be the hardest worker. He wanted to be in those situations where he could score the winning goal, right? Things like that. Like, he wanted to have the puck in his hands. And I always enjoyed watching him grow up. And with him being from Michigan too, and he worked with my agent closely. I've been able to work with him over the summer and get to know him. So that's been really special to just get to know him as a person, right? And pick his brain and, use all the lessons and experiences that he's had and try to apply that to my journey as well.
I think fans always love to hear like who a player's favorite player was when they were a kid, but like I'm wondering, like, from a player to player perspective, like if you hear who a guy's favorite player was growing up, you're like, it makes sense. Like the way you play kind of makes sense. Do you feel that with other players? Like, have you ever kind of talked about that?
Sometimes, yeah. When you talk to other teammates and other guys, you can tell. I think a lot of times we have players that we want to model our games after, but we also have favorite players that we just love to watch, right? I think like a combination for me, like other than Ryan Kesler, was like Nick Lidstrom growing up, right? Especially when I became a defenseman. He was kind of retired by then, but watching those clips about, how positionally sound he was and just a great leader he was, and then being on the wings too, kind of hometown team, it was fun.
To go back a little bit, a couple of years here, when you were playing in the NCAA, I find it's such an interesting league, and it's going to be really interesting to watch now, watching like the junior kids come in from the WHL and OHL. It's going to make that league like so much fun to watch and just that much better than it already is, even at right now. What was the best thing about going the college hockey route for you and developing kind of after you're drafted? Because I find that it's an interesting league to watch where you practice so much. You play on the weekends. You kind of mix in a midweek game here and there, it feels like, in the NCAA. But just getting that practice time when you're kind of 18, 19, 20, what did it really do for your game and really help you just playing the NCAA and going that route?
Speaking to that development part, I feel like just going the college route, and especially going to Omaha, like that was the best option for me. I think, it's obviously very, very different maybe from junior leagues, but I think especially in Omaha, like the attention that I got from my coaches and on the ice, like someone who was really special to me was Paul Gerard. Passed a few years ago to cancer. He was our D coach there for a couple years. I wouldn't be here where I am today without him. So I think just kind of the plan they put in place for you, especially with Omaha, just from the start and how they want you to learn and grow, and you have to put in the work as well, but they're going to match that work, right? And I think that was really special for me when I committed.
And you had kind of a friendly face when you got here. Ty Mueller was a guy that played with you there at Omaha. For him to just be an all-star this year, what did you think about just kind of, when you guys were young teenagers at the time in Omaha and seeing him to get to this point? What's it been like to kind of follow him a little bit this year? Now you're playing with him as a teammate, but to see that he was like an all-star this year, what do you think about the way he's kind of grown the last couple of years since he became a pro?
It's great. It's been fun to watch his journey, especially when we came into freshman, all the way back in school till now. He was one of the first guys to text me when the trade rumors were happening, and so that was really special for him to reach out. I was excited to play with him again because when you get split up like that, you never know when you'll see those guys again. So it's been nice to have that familiar face for sure.
I wanted to ask about defense coach Jordan Smith out here and how he's kind of helped you with your game and how it's maybe changed a little bit. Like, I'm sure when you first get here, he's trying to meet you and just understand who the person is. But now that you're kind of getting into the part now where he understands the player that you are, what's it been like just being able to work with him literally on a daily basis, it feels like?
Yeah, it happens quick, right? It's fast. You come in, you're meeting him, you're meeting all the other coaches, and then, a day or two later, right, you're playing. But it's been nice to develop that relationship with him. That's probably one of the guys I talk to most. Really easy guy to talk to about just the shift you just had or watching video with him and picking his brain. And I feel like the communication between us, talking about things that happen on the ice, it's been really good for me moving forward in my development.
And I found something interesting too. When you first got here and you played your first game in Abbotsford, I saw you on the first pairing. I saw you as the first guy over the boards, killing penalties, just to instantly get that confidence from the coaching staff. Like you kind of mentioned it, like Jordan Smith didn't know who you were when you roll in here. He's like, what type of player you are. But they just gave you an opportunity to kind of prove yourself. And you've done that in your time here in Abbotsford. Just to have that confidence boost when you got here as a new guy, what did that kind of do to your game and just literally your confidence level with this team?
I think within my own game, I want to build trust within my coaches, right? Mm-hmm. So for them to give me that opportunity is really special, but now I have to go out and take advantage of that opportunity, right? And play to my strengths and play well. So that's really what I've been trying to focus on.
What have you learned about development this year? Because I think with your dad's background and development is probably something you guys have probably discussed a lot. It's something he's done with a lot of players, not just his son. But what have you learned about just development this year and how or what it takes to kind of grow your game once you're at the pro level now?
Yeah, starting off, even as a kid, right? It's not a sprint. Mm-hmm. And, it's not going to be a gradual incline each and every day. Sometimes you're going to have bad games, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have tough plays. But just the mindset to stick with things, especially when you know what you're doing, on the ice every day, what you're doing working with the coaches is the right plan for you. Just having faith within that, I think.
Yeah, and your dad was the one who set up your chance to get to develop in Sweden a little bit as well. And I always found it like, it's hard for me when I'm watching like a draft class, I'm watching incoming guys out of Sweden because I'm like, they all move the puck so well. Is it just that the ice is a little bit bigger or like kind of in that part of developing your game? What was it about Sweden that you liked so much at your age? Because I think 18 at the time or 17 when you were there?
17, 18.
So that kind of age of really starting to like, I feel like at that age, you're making a lot of changes to your game to get to the next step again. For you, what was so good about Sweden and just getting a chance to develop as kind of your last few teenage years there?
I think first, just talking with my dad and working really closely with him. And he's so knowledgeable about the game and trying to figure out what was best for me. We felt like that was a really good option to go over there. And with just his hockey connections, I was very blessed. Tobias Johansson was the coach there to get a spot on that team. But at that time, it's just such a, I think, peak development age. And you're trying to figure out my game as well, almost like who I'm going to be at the next level. You're kind of going into juniors. And I think they've had all the tools in place for guys who really wanted to be players. You could take advantage of everything in the gym, on the ice, off the ice. There were so many, little individual skill drills that we would do, as well as, watching video and working within a team, like just kind of completely rounds out your game and kind of shaped the type of player who I am today.
How different is that from like college hockey then? As you're kind of like, what were some of the big differences that you found? Because like obviously both are kind of, I mean, they're similar, but not similar in certain ways of like, especially the age group, I guess, is more kind of the 15 to kind of 19 range when college hockey is more 19 to 22 type of thing. How different was it you like adjusting when you went from, because you went to the USHL after, right? So you went there and then to college hockey. So a little bit of a difference, but what were the things that really stuck about Sweden that they maybe did a little bit different than North America?
Yeah, going just with COVID, I kind of had to go back to the U.S. I played a little bit in the USHL before going into college. I think moving that step into college, being a 19-year-old as well, you're playing against guys who are bigger, faster, and stronger. And I wouldn't, the level of play is just as good as any in those leagues, but you're playing against men in college. And I think that's a big change when you move from, anywhere in juniors going into school. The size of the ice as well. It's something small, but it does change the game in little ways.
Totally.
You have less time and space. You're getting hit more, right? Because guys aren't worried about getting out of position, right? Playing on the big rink, trying to finish hits, things like that. So it's kind of little details within the game, I think.
And I feel like just playing against men and that whole conversation with guys when they go from junior to the AHL or even college to the AHL, it's another level of men, almost like from what you're getting from college guys. But for you, it feels like the physicality has always been a strength of your game. So how have you kind of adjusted to being like one of the biggest, strongest guys in the NCAA to now playing against men who have been doing it in this league for 10 years? Have you had to make an adjustment, or are you still kind of playing the same type of physicality?
It's been a little bit of adjustment. I think, it's sometimes different between the teams you play and the games you're playing. But being a bigger guy, I want to use that physicality to my advantage, right? And use that physicality to help win puck battles, help win plays. So it's kind of a continuation of how I played in college, coming into pros. But I think just kind of sticking with it almost.
Yeah. What do you remember from your NHL debut? Like when you got in that game on October 9th, just getting to go out there and skate. Like you didn't do it with the Canucks, so we haven't really seen it. But just like for Canucks fans, what did that mean to you? What did it mean to the family? Like what was that whole day like, just getting a chance to play in the NHL for the first time, be under the bright lights? Was it at Madison Square Garden the first game, or were you on the road?
It was in Pittsburgh. We were on the road.
Pretty good place to start as well. Like what was that whole day like, if you can remember just who was there with you? What was it like to kind of celebrate with whoever was there with you?
It was so much fun. The most important thing for me is just how I got to share with my family. I had parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, like friends. To be able to share that with them, I think that was really special to me. Like the rookie lap, I just kind of blacked out, I think, to be honest. It's a very surreal moment of you've worked so hard to get there, but it's also a realization of the hard work is kind of just starting, right? You want to get there and stay there. So it was really good for me, just that and the games I played this season to, get a taste, and you see where you want to be and you see what you have to do to be there.
So now as we're in the second round here against Coachella Valley, this is a team that Coachella made it to the AHL finals back-to-back years. And it's a team that's young, but it feels like there's a lot of guys who have gone on deep runs. What did you learn from those first two games that you guys need to do in these potentially 3 final games here at the Abbotsford Center?
I think the Firebirds, they're a very structurally sound team, right? And, little mistakes can lead to big goals that change big games, right? And I think, we want to be aware of that, but I feel like just playing within our own identity. I think we know what our strengths are. We know what we're capable of. And we feel like when we put together complete games that we're a really powerful team.
And kind of watching that first period of the second game, you guys go down 3-0, but then it felt like there was a change for the rest of that game. You guys reel off a bunch of goals. We get to overtime. It's ultimately a loss, but it felt like the final 40 minutes plus overtime, there was something that clicked with that group. What was it that you guys changed after that first period that really helped finish that game and at least push it to overtime? I mean, you're losing 3-0 after the first period. Not a lot of teams are coming back from that, but you guys were able to. What was it from this group that kind of what happened that made you guys change it so much in that game?
I think going back to what I said, just kind of, knowing our strengths, knowing about how when we're playing the right way and we're doing the right things, I think we know, what our potential is as a team. But I think, to speak to our mindset as well. I feel like coming in after that first period, there's no, real complaining, right? Things are getting hashed out if there is anything, right? And we kind of turn the page fast, right? We realize that things have to change and our mindset kind of clicks and it's like, okay, it's time to go to work, right? I think we come out, the team that we want to be those next 2 periods.
Who are some of the guys in this locker room that are the leaders there? Like, I think Chase is the name that's probably going to come up here. It seems like Chase gets brought up a lot in these situations, but who are some of the leaders in this group that have really helped you kind of just fit in a little bit with this like kind of new room that you step into?
There's several guys in the locker, pretty much everyone, I think, but a lot of guys lead in very different ways. I think we got a lot of leaders who, I think everyone does the right things, but we have leaders who are more vocal than others. We have more that, lead by example. A lot of the veterans, right, are great to just talk to and see how they carry themselves each and every day. So it's good to kind of just see what they're doing and piggyback off of that.
And what's it been like kind of coming to this market? You come from the Rangers, which is a pretty big market, but now Vancouver market, it's a Canadian city. Like to get, into a Canadian market, what's your interaction been like with the fan base, whether you're here in Abbotsford or in Vancouver?
I've said it before, like just how crazy passionate the fans are, and playing hockey, I think in a Canadian city is amazing, right? And how much they care about, the program and how you guys are doing. I know, New York, it's such a big city, right? But even like come to Vancouver, you walk around, like I had people like recognizing me, telling me like, "Hey, welcome to Vancouver."
Right.
It's such a little gesture, but it makes you feel welcome. It excites you to be there, and it almost makes you want to play even better, right?
Yeah.
So,
and you get it in Vancouver, but you also get it in Abbotsford. Like I think the cool thing that I find is, there's some pressure there from playing in a market like this, but from a player's perspective, like what does it mean to win in that type of market? Like how excited are you to just feel what it's like to win in these markets? Because I think there's a lot of pressure that comes playing in a Canadian market. But for you, like what is it like to get that potential feeling of like, hey, I'm the one who won in that market though?
Personally, I invite that pressure.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that you want to play for, right? You want to play in those playoff games. You want to have the puck on your stick. I invite that pressure almost. And whether that's Vancouver or Abbotsford, we've had some great crowds in Abbotsford. Like it makes it fun to play in front of. And I think when those games have really big meaning, it's just really exciting to be on the ice.
I feel like the forwards are always really excited about like a loud crowd, but I feel like the defensemen kind of like calm things down. But what is it like here with the Abbotsford crowd, like when they get going for you guys and, seeing that momentum? And it was something we just talked about with Tristan was like, it's not necessarily just a goal. It's like a big hit and then following that up and following that up. And that's how the momentum's built. When you guys start building momentum on the ice, how easy is it for the crowd to kind of continue to build that momentum with you guys here?
It's great. I think both in Vancouver and Abbotsford, like fans are knowledgeable about the game, right? And like speaking to what you said, it's not just a goal, right? It's a good defensive play. It's a block shot, things like that. It's a great save. It fuels you. It gives you energy.
Right on. So how excited are you just to get to this final 3-game series here at the Abbotsford Center and see this place fill up with some green?
Really excited. Like I said before, throughout this season, right, we've worked for these games to have home ice advantage. We like the situation we're in, and we're happy to get that home crowd advantage as well.
Awesome. Well, Victor, we're excited to see you guys. 3 games here at the Abbotsford Center, potentially. We'll see what happens in the first 2 for you guys, but we're excited to see the fan base and see you guys pot some goals and have a good series here to wrap it up. So thanks for taking the time today, joining us on the pod, and best of luck in the rest of the series.
Of course. Thanks very much.